Hello, mainstreamers and cinephiles and everybody in between. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And Operation Silver Screen is a go.
Hello, and welcome to Operation Silver Screen. Our show and our mission is centralized on Bryant and I catching up and giving a debrief on must-see films that we still haven't seen. However, we also have an additional tasking that comes with this assignment, which we refer to as our bonus objectives. The goal of our bonus objectives is to watch and debrief sequels and remakes of classics and must-see films. Not only will we review these movies, but also analyze it from the perspectives of their predecessors. So Bryant, what legacy sequel did we watch this week?
Well, once again, we have trouble keeping black candles from virgins. And another one was lit on another full moon on another Halloween night. So, of course, we are returning, and the Sanderson sisters are returning for Hocus Pocus 2, 29 years after the original Hocus Pocus. So this is another legacy sequel from Disney that we're going to be here discussing. And before we go on discussing, I just want to let you know that there will be no spoilers, so don't worry. We do have a spoiler portion, but we'll go ahead and let you guys know when that will be. So we'll give you a heads up when we're about to open up that classified folder. Caitlyn, starting with you, because for those who are just joining us that didn't listen to the original episode that we did for Hocus Pocus, it was our last episode. One, I highly recommend that you check it out. But another thing interesting with Hocus Pocus is that, at least for our generation, Hocus Pocus was considered a Halloween tradition. But Caitlyn, whether or not she was sheltered, that's being debated as we speak. She had not seen the original Hocus Pocus until we did our episode for it. And I mean, you said you agreed with me, it's a passable film. Like you didn't hate it, but you probably didn't really understand what all the buzz was about.
I really didn't, and even for me, I was trying to put myself in the mind of my childhood self, because this is a kid's movie. And sometimes it is a little bit unfair to judge movies that are meant for children as a movie that's meant for an adult, because it's different things. So I tried to put myself in the mind of child me, and I didn't think that child me would be that crazy about this film, because it did have some pacing issues for me. There were things about the characters I didn't really like. The story wasn't really all that interesting to me. So there are things about this film that just didn't work for me, and not having that nostalgia to really back it up for me because of my personal experiences, it just wasn't a film that really struck with me personally.
Yeah, totally understandable. We actually gave it the same grade, so I understand what you're saying. I grew up with this film. I used to watch this film every Halloween, but again, I think it's more because there weren't many choices, but I remember enjoying it as a child. So were you excited for this film at all? Seeing, it's now in its modern sense, you get to capture a Hocus Pocus the day that it releases now, something that you missed the opportunity of.
I think I was excited to see what they could do with this film with a bit of a bigger budget, with some newer technology, newer filmmaking techniques. I was excited in that sense. I wasn't really excited about it from a story point of view, because the story didn't really vibe with me too well. And I know that the Sanderson sisters, of course, are iconic characters, but those characterizations I wasn't too big of a fan of. It wasn't something that resonated with me, so it wasn't something I'm particularly excited to see again.
I wasn't actually, growing up with this, I was actually not excited for this at all. Not saying I was dreading it, but I was just like, okay, cool, they're making a sequel to Hocus Pocus. I didn't exactly know what to think. It's not like other movies that we've been doing where it's like, oh man, they have the opportunity to really capitalize on this. I don't think there was really too much with the first film aside from the Sanderson sisters.
I feel like also with how the first movie ended, I wasn't really sure that they could bring him back in a way that was going to be intelligent.
I tried not to think about that too much beforehand, because I knew that if I thought about it too much beforehand, I would have to think about it a lot while it's actually happening instead of just going with the flow, magic, Hocus Pocus, plot point. Yeah. There we go. And we just keep moving forward. So I don't know. I felt like they would just probably do the same thing, not go into it too much, and just bring them back the same way. Nothing too extravagant. Usually we'll go ahead and talk about the whole franchise, but this isn't necessarily a franchise. This is just, it just has this original, and here we are with a legacy sequel. So Again, if you want to hear what we have to say about Hocus Pocus in depth and actually discuss like what made that movie so popular and other things that went into it, go ahead and check out the original episode. But I'd like to go ahead and at least talk about what worked and didn't work for you in the first one, Caitlyn. So, like, what are some things that you wanted to see brought back in this film, capitalized on, and then what are some things that you're like, man, I hope they leave this out or they bring back in a better way?
I think one thing I liked about the first film, and I think we touched on it a little bit, was just the idea of Salem itself being kind of a character. It's an iconic location, and it really plays that up in the film. So I was curious to see how they're going to do that with this film. And also for Salem, Hocus Pocus is such a big tourist kind of draw in for the town itself. So I thought that it paying respect to Salem would have been interesting to see again. As for some things I didn't like, I think we talked about the musical numbers, the songs that they had in the film. It makes sense from a plot perspective, but I think moving forward into the sequel, I wanted to see either more or less music, because it's kind of was just kind of an odd here and there thing that it kind of felt like it wanted to be a musical, but then it didn't, and it kind of confused me in that regard. And I also was hoping that just the pacing would be a little bit better in the sequel.
Oh, I can tell we're gonna have a good discussion. I agree. Salem is a interesting location. It's not one that I really saw utilized in the last one. The last one I felt like I was just in another town, and this just happened to be their folklore. I didn't really see anything more with that. I like the concept of the Sanderson sisters, but I feel like it got stale after a little bit. I think the movie, by not being too much, like it kind of kept itself from being great, but at the same time it kind of kept itself from being necessarily bad. It kept things small and simple. I like the child actress as well in the first one, and the digital effects as well. We talked about how this was the first movie from Disney to have digital effects in them. I think it was actually done really well. I was planning to laugh at the cat, but when it came on screen and it started talking, I said, oh, that's actually not bad for 93. And that's probably as much as good as I have to say about the film. I'm kind of grasping at straws here for some things. But the things that don't work, the Sanderson sisters, like I said, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but then man, they get stale rather quickly, and the story itself, it just goes back and forth. Nothing really happens. But I do like that this movie was simple and short. It was a quick 1 hour, 30 minutes. Like it felt like a TV movie, and that's the way that I saw it, and I was able to understand it from that point of view, even though it did have a theatrical release.
Another thing I wanted to be done differently was that I actually wanted the Sanderson sisters to be part of the film and not just Winifred Sanderson. I feel like the first film was very much Winifred and her backup.
Agreed. Yeah, I would have liked to see more of them independently. It seems like even when the two sisters were doing things independently, they were bouncing off of Winifred. Mm-hmm. Winifred.
What?
Is it Winifred or Winifred?
Winifred.
Winifred. Winnie.
Winnie. There you go. That works. That makes me go like Winnie the Pooh. Put a wig on him.
They both live in an enchanted forest.
That's true.
So what did you think of Hocus Pocus 2, Caitlyn?
I think that in general, I actually enjoyed this film better than the original. I think it has a lot of issues and a lot of things that I had definitely had comments on while I was watching it. But I think in general, it was a little bit better pacing, which I said I was looking forward to, and it just felt very updated. I'm not going to say this was the Top Gun of Hocus Pocus, which we joked about in our last episode, but I do think I actually enjoyed this one a bit better.
Well, you heard it, guys. This is the Maverick to Hocus Pocus.
No, it's not the Maverick to Hocus Pocus.
Okay. I'm glad to see that you liked it more. I unfortunately did not.
Interesting.
And I know some people thought maybe like the first thought, which is, oh man, it's because you like the original. That's why Caitlyn's able to open up her mind and experience it. Hey, look, I only gave, you'll see what grade I gave the original, but it wasn't that high. Like I agree, the film has a lot of problems. And this film, I definitely went in with an open mind. I was actually really digging the beginning of this film. I was liking it. The characters were interesting. The humor was hitting for me. I was getting some chuckles out of it. And then the Sanderson sisters showed up. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm still getting some laughs here. And then they started doing the fish out of water stuff. And then it just kept going. And it kept going. And it just kept going. And it dipped for me. It really did dip for me when the Sanderson sisters, they come back and they go into a Walgreens. I mean, it's a pretty cool setup how they try to trick the witches. And it was funny for like a minute. And that's one of my main problems with this movie was the comedy and the length. Comedic timing, I felt, was very off with this film. Like jokes, comedic timing goes best both ways. You get the joke in at the right time, and then you get out, set up another joke, or move on to the next thing within a certain amount of time, based on the joke and how many laughs you get. You keep things rolling. Here though, man, it was just, there were bits that went on for way too long. There were some jokes that I laughed, but we were all still sitting there and they were still laughing, and I'm done laughing, and like the joke's over. Like we can move on. I even wrote in my notes, did the editor just leave? Like, I felt like there was no editor, because seriously, you just had to like cut some of this film out. And I saw that this movie was an hour, 47 minutes. I was like, oh man, yeah, it's just 14 more minutes. But when it takes just 10 seconds to ruin a good joke, or to like a 30 seconds to a minute to, you start getting pulled out of the film because you're getting bored by something going on for too long, those minutes add up, and they started adding up for me.
Just for a bit of reference, the scene that Brian's talking about, they go to the Walgreens because they're told it's an apothecary, right? And this is where they have potions that make you look younger. And what they're talking about is lotions, retinol, skincare, creams, and whatnot. So they trick him in that way. And this setup I thought was hilarious for a second. I thought it was a funny take on it. And it is true that we really do have these kind of potions in real life. But you're right. The joke definitely went on too long. I have that in my notes as well. It just kept going. And I agree that something that Disney in general, I think, really has an issue with in pretty much all their films, cross-wide their franchises, is comedic timing. I don't think they have it mastered at all.
Yeah, now thinking about it, I don't think they do, because it's either quick jokes, like they just do quips. But when it comes on to like actually structuring a joke, it feels off. And I guess, yeah, they don't know how to do the comedic timing, or they don't have somebody within the studio that, they don't have an editor that's in there like, hey, we got to cut it right here. Because it wasn't even like the joke and the delivery and the actors. It's just that the scene went on for too long. Mm-hmm. Also, they put in a fart joke, and who was that for? It was so random. I literally rewinded. I thought to myself, I didn't just hear that. Rewinded it, and yeah, there was a quick fart in there. Like it, I don't know. I wasn't struggling throughout the film, but I kept getting pulled out by things like that. I kept getting pulled back in. I did like the main characters. There is a reveal in the film. It's an early twist. I won't go ahead and spoil that, but there's an early twist in it that I liked. But even when that twist happened with a certain character, it didn't fully go with that twist. It then, like, the movie started backtracking on the character reveal. They're like, oh, we don't want them to be like that, so let's go ahead and backpedal a bit. And then we just kind of get some awkward scenes in there.
Yeah, the new characters, the new children characters to this film, I kind of had mixed feelings about. We're introduced to these three friends, these three girls who are friends, and two of them are kind of having a little bit of a falling out with their third friend, because their third friend has a boyfriend now, and her boyfriend's one of the popular guys, and they just don't really connect together as friends anymore. And so it is the one girl's 16th birthday, and as a tradition, these three friends, since they were young children, they would go hang out and do like witchcraft together, just in the woods, and do like charms and protective spells and good luck charms. And that was kind of odd to me, because I don't think young children should be practicing witchcraft, but it was a little bit odd. And I thought that the tension between the friends was very cliche, and it kind of made me not like these girls so much.
I didn't mind that they were doing witchcraft. I thought it was, I don't know, I've met people who were still in that. And
what do you mean
they
still
weren't
in that?
still with the witchcraft. Like I've met kids who maybe they're not full out. They're not trying to cast spells.
Well, I think that my issue was that Like, it's things that children should not be messing with if they don't know what they're doing.
Oh, I think a lot of, I agree. Children shouldn't mess with things that children shouldn't mess with. But I mean, it happens, and I'm not looking down at the children for it. I mean, I'm glad that they were lighting candles and not, lighting meth in the middle of the woods. It seemed that they knew that witchcraft wasn't real anyway. It's just something that they continue to do. Like, it really was a tradition for them.
I mean, but there are people who actually do practice that as a religion.
Oh, there's some people that go way further than these children go. And then that's what I'm saying. This felt way more childlike than anything. I didn't see this as being like, what's the word? Malice at all.
Well, I thought it was strange that how much like they were being encouraged to do it by the adults. I think that's what threw me off a little bit. Not that they were doing it because kids will try to get into stuff, but I thought it was strange that the parents were like, oh yeah, go do your spells in the woods in the middle of the night in the darkness. Have fun with your protective circle. And I'm like, okay, this is a little strange.
I don't know, because even growing up, we had like little witchcraft sets that we would get, and you didn't have those like where you could make potions. Again, you're really, it's getting kind of hard to say that you weren't sheltered.
I had like a Harry Potter potion set, but that's different. That's different. But like if you're from Salem and you're like having someone who's been Salem, like they're definitely big on witchcraft as like a religion, like actual witchcraft, like actual like Wicca and that kind of stuff. So like that environment versus like, oh, you're just a kid playing around with your Harry Potter potion set. Like that's a different thing.
Disney doesn't own the Harry Potter rights yet, so they can't say that. But that's basically the same. That's the same thing.
Not in Salem. It's not in the same thing. Like those kids, like that's a different thing in Salem.
I'm not from Salem. I don't know how seriously they take it, and
they have like big events where like actual Wiccans come and they do their stuff. So like I thought it was a little strange given the setting. Sounds like a
shelter person would say.
No, I've just been to Salem and I don't practice witchcraft.
No, I saw more like hippies who are into the crystals and getting energy and power off of those.
It's a Wiccan thing.
Oh, that's a Wiccan thing. So it is okay. So my mind was in the right place then. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was a Wicca thing then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that explains why I saw so many similarities in them. And yeah, that's how I saw it. I didn't view it as anything devious, but
not devious. It's not devious, but it's something that like is a real thing that people practice. So like I think that there's a certain amount of care that goes into that if you're part of that community and you believe in that. So it seemed like something that, given the setting, because they talk about that a lot in Salem and they have a lot of stores and stuff that go into stuff like that, it seemed a little bit odd just to have kids just playing around with something that maybe they shouldn't be playing around with. That's my personal feeling because of a setting. If it was somewhere else, I don't think I would have been as picky about it. But like it's like playing with a Ouija board. If you believe that something is real and you're going to show them playing with a Ouija board in a kid's movie, like that's kind of like what I meant. And that the parents were all like, oh yeah, go ahead and go do that.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
Sort of.
So like the encouragement from the parents when this is an actual religion and stuff, that's important. I wouldn't say it's an important to Salem, but it is part of like the Salem environment, but they go into a lot of that. I thought it was a little strange.
Okay. All right. I think I'm fine. You mentioned in your what works in this film, what doesn't work. You said that the musicals don't really work, and they do bring back some musicals in this film. Did they work for you this time around?
No. I thought there was one song that really had no purpose within the story, and like before they used songs to cast their spells, but this was just a kind of a random song break. It was just for a short amount of time, but it just didn't fit for a story perspective. And then they also had a big musical number that was The One Way or Another. I don't know what the song is called. I'm blanking. I'm gonna getcha. That song, but like the Sanderson version that they sang to the crowd, and that was supposed to be a spell, and it was supposed to be looking back to kind of reflect the same situation that they had in the first movie when they sang the I Got a Spell on You song. So when they did that, it wasn't awful, but why did they not just make an original song for this film instead of using that one?
No, I agree. That bothered me so much. One, because I think if they were just doing their original song that they did from the first one, that's what I thought it was going to be built up to. And I don't mind some misdirection, subverting the expectations there. But then you just go ahead and do a cover with some new lyrics. And yeah, it felt so oddly placed. Also, when you think about how the Sanderson sisters are from the 1600s, the 17th century, and now they're singing this song, which I believe was released in the 90s. All I know about the song is that it was in the Rugrats movie, which somehow, back again, talking about the Rugrats movie.
It always ties back to Rugrats.
Yeah, that felt off. And then when they were doing their song, when they came back to Salem, I understand why they were singing, and then they made a couple of follow-up jokes to it, and the follow-up jokes were funny, but at the same time, I was like, man, these jokes would be funnier, and I'll be having a better time if this musical number wasn't so long. Like, if they just did it, and you could hear it in the background still, but no, they put on, like, a whole production, and then they kind of just cut it awkwardly, and then they set up some jokes on it. It's, again, man, that timing and that editing is just so off, and things drag. There was something else that you... Okay, let's talk about the big characters in this. We talked about the minor characters. I want to get back to them, but first let's talk about the real trio here, which are the Sanderson sisters. How did you feel about them this time around?
So this film opens up with a flashback, same as the original did. It took us back to the 1600s, but this time we got to see a young Winifred and a young Sanderson sisters when they're children and they're first discovering witchcraft. And so you kind of see their origin story in the beginning of the film, and you see them played by young actresses. And I put a note that young Winifred gives annoying theater kid vibes because that girl was something. She was overacting for real. And I don't think that the other children I had much of an issue with, but young Winifred drove me crazy.
So what about, okay, before we go into the older ones, quickly talk about them younger selves, which I don't know if I really needed this origin story. It sets up like one plot point and possibly a sequel, who knows. Actually, young Winnie, I liked.
Ooh.
I thought, now the reason I liked her, granted, because I still didn't like her, because I don't really care for this character, is that I thought she did a very good job reflecting her older self, the older actress. I think she did a good job with a lot of the mannerisms. I think she did a good job capturing Bette Midler's mannerisms. But I think Bette Midler herself overacts as the witch. So she's just reflecting the overacting in what she's seeing. And I thought at least she was putting something into it. The other two felt like theater kids, though more like Sunday theater kids. Like they're just doing the rendition of the birth of Jesus Christ. They're just there.
Yeah, once again, there's not really as much to the background Sanderson sisters. But I did think I was a little scared at first when we were going into this background, because it starts off with Winifred being upset because she's going to be forced to marry this boy that she does not want to marry. And she gets kind of labeled as a menace to their Puritan town and has to go on the run. And so I was kind of afraid at first that this was going to be the girl bossification of Winifred Sanders, that we were going to have this feminist tale that Winifred was really a victim and she's excused for her crimes because she had to go through this. But I think that they subverted this, because there is a character that is kind of a historian about the Sanderson sisters and knows their past, and he is under the impression that she was a victim, that the things that she did out of circumstance. And so with them being evil throughout the film and kind of showing their true colors, you see that really they're not justified. They're still murderers. Murder's murder, even if you have a sad backstory. But so I was happy that it didn't go too much into that girl bossification.
In reference to that line you said that, hey, they were just misunderstood, that felt like a throwaway for me to explain people's motivation. However, with any throwaway line, there's nothing really supporting it. You're not going to feel it. A throwaway line is just to fill up a plot hole that you may have, but it doesn't really do anything for your enjoyment of the film. And as you're going along with them, I think if they spent less time with the Sanderson sisters bumbling around, doing fish out of water stuff, smacking each other around like the Three Stooges, and really focused on their sisterhood. I could have felt so much more in this movie. As far as the ending of this film, when it really comes down to understanding that sisterhood, I thought this was a great ending for an undeserved film. Like, I thought nothing really led up to this point. But man, if you did have something that led up to this will be nice. I could actually feel some emotion here or something.
See, I disagree with it as a throwaway line because if you're going to have that backstory and kind of build that sympathy in the backstory, I think that you kind of needed that just to kind of subvert that idea that they're justified in their child murder because they have a sad backstory.
And I think it wasn't enough.
Oh,
Again,
I mean, I definitely agree that it needed more, but I think that line was definitely needed because, like I said, it was definitely going to a girl bossified route in this story, and so I was very grateful that they did not do that.
How did you feel with them brought back? Like, how did you feel about I would say one thing, this film gives them a lot more screen time. How did you feel with them, like with their acting and their performance and their characters in the film?
I mean, they're very flat. I think, like you said, they try to do something a little bit with their dynamics towards the end and a little bit of hints within it, but in general, they're very flat characters. They certainly didn't learn anything from their last encounter in the modern times. So it was a bit disappointing to see that. And once again, it definitely felt like Winifred and her backup.
Yeah, they were the reason this film dipped hard for me. And I was hurting a bit every time that they came on screen. I can't think of, like, aside from when they first appeared, how I think it was pretty cool, even though you can tell that whole place was just a plastic set. I was still, like, interested in them coming back and seeing what they're going to do. But man, like, one thing that you said that was great during our original episode is that they are not menacing at all. And I felt that even more in this one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that also in general, when it comes to like the child murder, nothing was as adult in this film as it was in the original. You know, in the original, we had the hanging scene, we had depictions of child murder, not graphic, obviously, but it was there. And plus, you had a little bit more adult humor in it, adult jokes. And this had a very, very, very tiny bit of that, but that was about it. In general, this film definitely felt more kid-friendly to me personally.
Oh, yeah, this one is definitely more kid-friendly, even though they managed to slip in a couple version jokes, which I found pretty funny. This is more kid-friendly, which isn't a problem at all. I think, the first one was trying to be a kid's film. There's no problem with a film trying to be a kid's film, unless it becomes like tone imbalanced. But it just kind of, the sisters, they just bumble around. Like, you can be menacing and not, completely horrify children. And if you're not going to be menacing and if you are just going to be bumbling around, then be funnier. Have better comedic timing.
Yeah, when I said that this film felt more kid-friendly, I didn't mean that as a criticism. If anything, I think it helped it because I felt like the film had a little bit more focus about what it wanted to be and the tone it wanted to portray.
Going back to the lead characters, minor characters in this film, because the Sandersons they're on the center stage, literally at some points. You said that you didn't really like the two. What did you think about, they had their own subplot, and actually I like that they kind of subverted this, in which you think you know where it's going with these two girls used to have a third friend, but she not really became popular. They don't seem to have like a popular status there, but she started to hang out with the football player. She started hanging out with other kids, and they felt that they were kicked to the side by her. How did you feel about that whole plot point and those three?
I wish that it had subverted it because I actually don't think that they really did. I think they started to and then it didn't go anywhere because, I mean, these two girls were really kind of a jerk to her. She got a boyfriend, okay. She got new friends, okay. But she was still trying to make time for them and wanting to include them in things. And they were just kind of a jerk to her and a jerk to her boyfriend too, who I don't think was that bad of a guy, honestly. And so I gave me a bad view of the two main girls, but especially the one. The one girl was kind of trying to play intermediary a little bit more than the other one was.
Yeah, I think it started to subvert it, but it didn't stick the landing. It's like they backtracked for a second so that they can put it in like we can go either way. So I appreciate the effort. Like, I like that, hey, you guys at least started, like, we kind of moved away from this completely. Not yet, but, and I've seen in some other properties, they move away from this plot line. But here they kind of, they were going one way, and then they ended up bouncing in the middle and kind of just staying there. But I still appreciate them not going the full cliche route. I think the boyfriend was actually, I actually really liked his reveal. He has a funny reveal in this film. We'll talk about it in spoilers. But I don't think he was, I don't think he was too bad either. It's not like he was throwing people into lockers. He was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the biggest thing, is that he was dumb.
Yeah, he was more dumb than malicious or anything to them. So I thought they were being a little bit unfair to him.
Yeah, he was more of a danger to himself physically than he was to anybody else.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say about your opinion of the film?
As far as pacing goes, it did drag a bit in the middle, but like I said, I do think it was a little bit more exciting. I think that there was slightly less circular patterns in this one. One of my criticisms for Hocus Pocus was that they just kind of kept doing the same thing over and over again. Get the book, not have the book, go get the book again, not have the book. Like, it was a lot of running back and forth, and there wasn't really much places that they could go with the story. And I think this did this a little bit better. I'm not saying it's perfect, and it definitely did drag in the middle, but it was a little bit better.
I agree on that. They didn't go back and forth. I like that. Even though the plot is still kind of the same here, it doesn't it doesn't go completely with the beginning, which sometimes legacy sequels have a problem with. They just go ahead and do the same plot over again, but with a fresh new face on it. But now thinking about this story, the Sanderson sisters, man, I dislike this even more because there was nothing going on. Like, there was just the main characters, the kids were trying to devise a plan and trying to get everybody to safety. The Sanderson sisters were just looking around and, again, just running into things and doing the fish out of water tale until somebody said, hey, it's about that time they found them. And they were like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, the fish out of water idea definitely got very old. Very, very old. Very, very fast. One thing, this story takes place during Halloween, so you see a lot of people in their Halloween costume. But one part that had me yelling was that they put their Asian teacher in a banana costume.
You know, that explains the deleted scene where his the teacher down the hall comes in, and it's a black teacher with an Oreo costume.
Yeah, it is. It's the Asian version of an Oreo.
I wonder if that was a mistake. That had to be a mistake.
It has to be, because I don't think it was just like a tongue-in-cheek type thing. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is offensive.
For me, this movie, I didn't struggle with it. I did get some laughs throughout this, and I think it had a decent story. But man, could this have been better directed and edited in so many ways? This was very stale, and I don't see why everybody loves the Sanderson sisters other than nostalgia more than anything. Because now you think about the first film, they weren't that great, but I guess just because of the look and the nostalgia, that's why people love it. And I wonder if nostalgia is going to be playing a role in this with this ratings. Actually, I did see the IMDb ratings because I was looking at the cast, and it has a pretty good rating, like overall rating compared to the Metascore. The Metascore is, I believe, say for the critics, and then you have the star rating, which has the audience reviews incorporated with it as well. And that was pretty good. But I wonder if some nostalgia play, because this feels like a Disney Channel movie. This this just felt very much like a Disney Channel movie, like how I remember Disney Channel movies, which is not a good thing.
See, like I said, I liked that aspect. I think a problem with the original was that it tried to be a movie when it really should have been a Disney Channel movie. And then even then, I think that there's some things that, like I said, it's confused about with its tone and what it's trying to come across. So I think this film knew what it wanted to do. It knew the genre, the niche. It knew that it was going to be releasing on Disney Plus. So I felt like it had a little bit more direction in that sense. And just going back to the Sanderson sisters for a minute, I will say I do like Sarah Jessica Parker, probably the most of the sisters. I did like the Sanderson sisters a little bit better in this sequel than I did in the original, but the issues that I had in the original are definitely still there.
I'm trying to think of the best way to bring this up. Is there something I noticed in this? Because talking about Sarah Jessica Parker,
There was something I noticed too that I thought was maybe it's the same thing. So
does it have to do with a pear?
a pear?
Yeah.
No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because there's a shot of a pair of legs, her legs.
Oh,
She's got some nice legs, but there was just this odd shot of her trying to reach up somewhere, and then the camera comes back down, and it takes a minute for the camera to switch back. I think you actually get 2 shots of like 2 angles of those legs before the camera goes back. Like, it is noticeable.
she does have nice legs, but actually what I was thinking about was that her undergarments, like she has some like nice undergarments on under her robe that they give you some shots of. She has like a little garter thing, and that was interesting that they included that.
Well, that makes sense because she's the promiscuous one. But does the camera guy also have to be the promiscuous one? Like, I get it. Like, we see her and, we see those garments. But did we really need a shot of her legs? Like, I mean, if you go back and watch it, like, it does kind of sit there for a moment, just enough to click in my head. Like, wait, why are we just looking at her legs right now?
He did it for all the little Bryants out there.
All the
Yabos.
yabos. So much yabos. The camera and the editor the costume designer and the editor got together and like, yabos? Yabos.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened.
They had like a little box fort in the back. That was the password, was yabos. That's probably why none of the editing got done in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and open the classified folder. We are going to be getting into our spoilers. So stick around if you have seen the film or you have not seen it, but you don't really care about spoilers. Or, go ahead, watch the movie, come back and listen to our spoiler section. We're not just going to be talking about our discussion further with spoilers, but we are going to talk about like whether or not that this film was needed. We're going to give our letter grade for this film. We're going to talk about where this film ranks amongst its original. And then also, do we really want more from this Hocus Pocus? So getting a little break in our discussion, do you feel that this movie was needed, wanted, at least welcomed, or was this pointless?
I'm sure it was needed for Disney's wallet. I mean, I don't know needed, but they definitely their wallet.
I don't know about needed.
Their wallet always enjoys these reboots. But for me personally, like I said, not having the nostalgia factor, I don't really think it was needed or welcomed by me personally. But I was curious to see how they were going to do it. I was curious to see, since I didn't really connect with the first film, if I would with this one. But in general, I don't think that it was really needed other than for nostalgia bait.
I think this was at least welcomed, especially by my generation, the nostalgia, and also this was a Halloween tradition film. Why not try to see if we can do something else, if we can make a new traditional film? And if I was the party host and the Sanderson sisters were to come up and be like, hey, Hocus Pocus 2, I wouldn't have invited them, but I've been, okay, all right, you know what, guys, come on in, enjoy yourselves. And then just like an hour would pass and they just start getting into everything and once again just start bumbling around, smacking each other, making a disturbance. We're like, all right, get out. And that's how I felt with this film. Like, hey, come on in. All right, get out. Never mind. This was a bad decision.
Fair.
I'll let you go ahead and pick. Where do you want to start with the spoilers and the discussion?
Let's talk about how the Sanderson sisters came back to the modern age. Because we talked about before that there's this historian that is really into the Sanderson sisters. He works at like the Sanderson sister house. It's kind of like a tourist event, like that's all devoted to witchcraft. It sells crystals, stuff like that, and it also has Sanderson related merchandise. And so his background is that he was there in 1993. That's when it takes place. He witnessed the sisters. He didn't really witness any of the events that were happening or how they behaved, but he just kind of witnessed them for a moment, and he became kind of infatuated with these girls as characters. And so for him, he makes it his point that he wants to bring the sisters back. So in order to do that, he tricks our main characters. Like I said, our 3 main characters are girls. Becca is the main leader of the 3 girls. There's Becca, Cassie, and Izzy. and it's Becca's birthday, and he gives her a candle. He says, "This is your birthday present. I imbued it with a bunch of magic. Go ahead and use this for when you guys go out and do your spells in the middle of the forest, like they do for some reason." But so he sends them on their way, and they do a spell to kind of wish them good luck into this school year. And the candle just magically lights. And of course, it's a black flame candle. And so inadvertently, these girls summon the Sanderson sisters back. Now, Brian, what did you think of this character? Gilbert is the name of the shop owner and historian.
Gilbert, who's played by Sam Richardson, who we've been seeing quite a bit of recently. He's sort of playing the same roles. He's kind of this adorkable guy that is still a bit brave on the inside. At least so far the roles that I've seen him in. He provided some comedy in this film, and most of the jokes hit. And then I liked his reveal. I liked the twist. I consider that to be a twist. I didn't see that coming, and I thought that was going to add an interesting dynamic to this, but that's what I was talking about with the backtracking. Like, hey, he wanted them here, but then he seemed kind of completely useless to them, and they didn't want you to fully like have him see him as a follower, but he was still had to be in the movie. So they just kind of kept him around, and he was just went out there to gather some ingredients for the witches. So with his character, I liked how they set him up. I just don't like how they continued with it.
Yeah, I think that if there was a better moment of realization that he messed up and he owned it, that would be one thing. But he never really has that moment. Like, he does realize that what he did was wrong, but he never really owns up to it or admits it. Like, either if we had that, or if he was just a villain all along, like a villain character who wanted these villainous witches to come back, but you don't see that either. So he's kind of just a wishy-washy character. He really wasn't there for anything except comedy relief. And I personally did not think his jokes hit at all.
Oh, none of them?
No.
Oh, I thought some of them hit. But, yeah, you said it perfectly. He's wishy-washy, and it doesn't seem like he really apologizes or paid for what he had done. Like, there doesn't feel like there was any weight. I feel like when it ended, they just said, "Oh, Gilbert." Mm-hmm. And like, whoa, hold up. He didn't just like knock over the wedding cake. He almost killed you all.
Yep.
For some not a very good decision. Like, it wasn't like, all right, you brought him back. What was your plan? Like, he didn't even seem to have a plan when they got brought back. And I mean, we've seen this kind of character before, the servant who brings them back. Usually they end up dying. So, I mean, now I see what happens when they don't die. They kind of just stay in the movie in this awkward place. So I guess I'll start rooting for that. Or they're like completely dragged around by that person. The first thought that comes to my head is the guy from Mummy, the Weasley guy. Yeah, he's the first one that comes to my head. And he gets it. He gets his. I mean, he gets all his gold. And that's it.
Yeah, he kind of was just a device, and that was just about it in this film.
Almost everybody's a device in this film. And speaking of devices, there's somebody else who gets a little device, a little bit of witchcraft themselves.
Yes, there is.
She gets some sequel powers. I mean, some witch powers.
Yep. So as we said before, this film follows three girls: Becca, Cassie, and Izzy. And Becca, it's her birthday. It's her 16th birthday. And we learn early on in this film, when we're following young Winifred, that when you turn 16, that's when you get your witch powers. So here comes Becca. It's her 16th birthday. So what does she get? Witch powers.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. There's no follow-up. That's exactly what happens. Which I was cool with. I was like, all right, she's 16. She must have some witch lineage in her. She lives in Salem. So I get this, but man, it wasn't towards the end or like the final shot that I saw, oh, I see what you guys are doing. But she's also not the only one who gets powers. The sisters, who I didn't realize until now, they don't have at least like real magical powers. Like, they can't shoot lightning like Winnie can. They just help with the potions. So they get it at the end of this movie.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I think they had some powers, because she points a lot. Sarah Jessica Parker points at things a lot, but like, she definitely wasn't as strong. They definitely weren't as strong as Winifred was. She definitely was the most powerful one in their coven. And speaking of covens, something that I liked about our main character getting her powers is that she kind of has her own coven, right? So she has her two friends with her, and they form their own sort of coven, even though those two girls don't quite have powers yet. But I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition against the Sanderson sisters. I appreciate that. And it kind of gave them a little bit more power, made them a little bit more interesting and capable than the children in the first film.
Oh, yeah, they were more interesting than the children in the first. I wish they had gotten more development and screen time. Yeah, I think a lot of it could have been cut and taken away from the actual sisters.
That's true.
What did you think about the ending? Because she really uses her powers at the climax of the film to defend her and her friends, while Whitney goes and they complete the magic, the great spell known as Magica Maximus or Maximum. Which, I mean, I think anybody can tell what that means. I was like, wow, this was very uncreative, guys. And they go about, and she becomes the most powerful witch, but she loses her sisters in doing so.
Always gotta read the fine print. Because there's a warning in the book. And the book said don't do this, but she still did it. So everything comes with a price. And the price for doing this spell was, yes, indeed, the loss of her sisters, and they disappear. And it does lead to a very emotional moment, because you do kind of feel sorry for them. It does bring some sense of humanity to these witches that I don't think we saw previously. But I do wish that it was built up a little bit more. And I think a couple scenes back, there is a moment where Sarah Jessica Parker, she has a moment where she stands up to Winifred and she says, hey, stop calling me a fool. I'm not a fool. I'm your sister, and I've been very loyal to you, and I've been a good sister, so stop calling me a fool. And it was a great moment. And I was like, okay, so we're going to start developing these characters as humans and kind of go a little bit more into their relationship with each other and the dynamics there. But then it just backtracks right away, where Winifred just kind of yells at her after that. And she's like, oh, yes, you're right, sister. I'll appease you. I'll please you however I need to. Yes, you're correct. Good sister. Bye. I'll do what you told me to. And so that really irritated me in this film, because I think that there was a lot of opportunity to go into those relationship dynamics and really understand the relationship that these girls have. And you had that at the beginning too in this film. The preacher in the beginning in the 1600s goes to take these girls away from Winifred, and that really is a boiling point for her. She's scared of losing her sisters, but then you just don't see that enough throughout the film. There's moments, but you just don't see it enough.
I felt like we were watching in real time the writing of this script. Like, the writer was going ahead and writing Sarah to give her some development in her character, and one of the producers came up and looked over their shoulder and then smacked him with the screenwriter. Like, what are you doing? It's called development. No, that better lead into a joke, and I mean now. I was like, your job is to stitch together jokes, not write a story. It's like, do I need to call Mickey? No, I got this.
Even more than that, I feel like sometimes with these movies that we're really watching a rough draft of a script. They have ideas, but they just don't follow through, and they need to go back and tune their script a little bit to like further explore these ideas that they just had in their mind when they were brainstorming and writing their first draft.
Yeah, it feels like they had notes. They put the notes up, they did this outline, then they had somebody come in and they went ahead and put in some jokes in between, and then they gave it to a writer and said, hey, I want you to turn this into a movie, but you got to follow this strictly, and you have to leave all this stuff here. Mm-hmm. You can't expand, you can't shorten, so you got to figure out how to fit whatever you want to write in between these lines. Like, you have 2 lines for the next 10 minutes. If you can't fit it in there, then, hey, it's going to get cut short, or we're going to have to write something else, or we're going to hire somebody else. And seeing like how the visual effects artists, how they barely get any time. I wonder if the writers get barely any time with these films. But I don't know, like, to write a film, I mean, they're given a couple years to do so. So I think it's something else in like the production that's holding them back. And it even seems like sometimes that they are getting held back. Like we seen with Gilbert's character not going that full servant devious route. We seen it with the character development. They didn't go the full route, and Cassie saying, hey, you were the ones that ditched me. I didn't ditch you. They went ahead and they left it in the middle right at the end With the Sanderson sisters, they're like, hey, they're evil, but now they're nice. Evil again. Oh, we're going to stop right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, one, it's so that they can do a sequel, so they can bring these characters that people like back. But at the same time, I think they don't want to play. They don't want to risk anything. They don't want to play. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, they don't want to take any risk with their characters.
They want to play it safe.
Play it safe, yes.
Mm-hmm. And it really,
like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. And it really just undercuts the emotion that scene could have had, because it could have been a really emotional moment. And I did feel some emotion, but then it was ruined because the rest of the movie just didn't really support that. Like
I said, it's a great ending to an undeserved film.
Mm-hmm. It was.
And now nobody can take that ending and do anything with it. Because they'll be like, oh, isn't that from Hocus Pocus? You get out of here. Mention with the spoilers. I think that's everything I have for the spoilers.
Yeah, I think that's really all I had. Once again, we didn't really talk about Billy at all, but because Billy just is there.
Oh, he is just there. You know who else is there but then they just became there? Was the father to Cassie.
Oh, yeah.
Who, I liked how they did he had the lineage to the Reverend. I thought that was cool. And he was actually, it was funny when he first appeared. Like, he was just a really dorky dad. And I like that. At first I thought he was going to be the snobby mayor. But no, he was just a dork. But then he has this subplot of him trying to get a caramel apple. And god dang, the comedic timing. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but man, it is off. It is off. The moment you have to think about, is this still a joke? That you know is bad.
Yeah. You know, one character I actually did like in this film was the book. The book in this film kind of gets its own character and is given kind of a sort of touch of humanity to it. And I liked it. I liked the book.
Oh, yeah. The book got set up as well to be one of the sequel players. And also, actually, we got to talk about why I keep saying that, why I'm so sure that this is a sequel. Gilbert still being alive, Sam Richardson, who is, the popular actor, the noticeable actor in this. But you also have the main character, Becca, having powers. And she now has the book, which has a little bit more character in it, so people are going to want a little bit more from the book. But in the final shot, you see a bird flying towards them. And this is the same bird that turned into a witch earlier in the film. They're the ones that introduced the book to the Sanderson sisters. So we'll see how this movie does. If so, we may have a Hocus Pocus 3 to do.
Yeah, I thought that character was shooted a little bit strange. Like, she's there in the beginning and then she doesn't really come back up again. So she's only really there for a short time and kind of like a plot device, really. So honestly, I think it would be a little bit of a shame to not have her. I don't know that I personally imagine a sequel or so much as like a spin-off series with the 3 new witches.
I could definitely see a whole series.
Yeah. That's actually, my guess.
I could see more. Yeah. What letter grade would you give this film then?
If you want to know my ranking that I gave for the original Hocus Pocus, you'll have to go back and listen to that episode. But I will say that I am going to go a little bit higher for this one because I do think I enjoyed this film a little bit better. And I feel like to a degree, it knew how to cater to its audience. And so for this film, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a C-.
Okay. A little bit. Dang, I forgot to guess yours before you said it. But actually, no, that's actually where I saw you going with it. Now, I have to go with a solid D. I think this film is passable again, but man, I was struggling a bit. Just, I kept saying it, just the bumbling around along with the poor comedic timing. It dragged this film and it pulled me out and I got just bored and annoyed. So that's going to take away a few points. I think that this is not that bad of a film to watch if you're interested to watch with your kiddos if you have them. I think this is a decent enough film to put on for the family. It's a lot better than some of the other movies out there, but not many. This isn't really better than many of the other films out there. I still don't think that this is going to be something that's going to resonate with children. I don't think this is going to be the new Halloween tradition. It's probably still going to get its spot on the ABC Family or Freeform when it comes to the 31 Nights of Halloween. They're probably going to put this on right after Halloween. Right after Hocus Pocus. Ooh, never mind. They're not putting on. Hopefully they don't put on Halloween. Scare the crap out of children. But yeah, a solid D for me.
See,
I didn't hate this film, but I was glad when it was over.
I think actually that I can see modern children enjoying this film better than the original Hocus Pocus.
Oh, better than the original Hocus Pocus, yeah. I can see them enjoying it more. Mostly just because it's modernized. That's really it. And there's a little bit more going on in this film. And the things that I'm complaining about, I don't think most children are going to notice that, but I think they'll enjoy. They may not notice that they're enjoying better comedy in other films, but they are.
I think something that I mentioned that is the reason why I, as a child, would not have connected with the original Hocus Pocus is that the witches felt really mean-spirited. The tone felt a little bit more mean-spirited, and I don't think that this film has that. So I think that's why I think that the tone of this film would work better with modern children.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It sounds like you kind of already said it. Where do you rank this movie compared to Hocus Pocus?
Oh yeah, definitely above the original, by far.
And I put it below, not because Hocus Pocus 1 is better in my eyes, but it's not. I think Hocus Pocus 2, I don't want to say is worse. I don't want to say it's not as good, but there were things in it that bring Hocus Pocus 2 down for me. Really, they're both up there. It's just that a couple things pull Hocus Pocus 2 and Hocus Pocus stays where it's at, therefore my rating. So Caitlyn, since you love Hocus Pocus 2, do you want more?
I would not personally want to watch more, but I actually think that it would be kind of a cute spin-off series to have the 3 young witches and maybe bring back that other older witch as a mentor. I think that they have potential for a cute kids Disney Plus show.
I would give it that, because I don't even think Disney Plus has really many series for preteens other than what was already made on Disney Channel and what can be found on Netflix. Though, I mean, I'm kind of out of touch with that.
I think they have a few shows, but I feel like they don't market them very well.
I mean, are we really? Neither of us are in the market, so that's probably why we don't really see it that often. I know when my ex was over and the stuff that her kids would watch, some of it was actually what I watched before, which was iCarly, Victorious, but they were also watching some other shows. One was actually not bad.
I feel though it's harder because you don't have, like, a lot of people don't have cable, so they're not seeing commercials for new shows and everything else. So, like, if you want to watch a new show that's meant for preteens, you have to go on Disney Plus and find it.
Right. And I don't know how well Disney Plus does with their recommendations. I know Netflix, like, hey, because you watch iCarly, all of this is made for you or recommended for you. So I don't know how well Disney Plus does that. I think a series could do well. I mean, you're gonna have something like, it's not the first time we see magic in a series. Wizards of Waverly Place. I never really got into that one. I think I watched a couple episodes here and there, but it is something that I can see the kids enjoying as a series. I mean, I would also appreciate it as a series because that means we don't have to do an episode on it. But honestly, yeah, I can see it working better in a series with that Disney Channel style with it. Like, really catered to kids and having that sitcom comedic tempo as well. Think about Disney Channel, their tempo, it's the sitcom tempo. It's one joke after the other. So it doesn't matter like what's hitting or missing as long as some are hitting, but it keeps going. So I think that's my main issue with this movie, and I think that won't be a problem if they go into sitcom form.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that is a better format for it.
All right, well, that's it for Hocus Pocus 2. Make sure to go ahead, if you haven't already, listen to our original and, of course, any of our other episodes. If you're all caught up and you're just trying to buy some time until you listen to our next episode, Caitlyn, where can they find us?
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at OpSilverScreen. On Facebook, we're going to be at Operation Silver Screen, but on Twitter and Instagram, we're going to be at Op Silver Screen. And do follow our Twitter because right now I am doing a Halloween rewatch live tweet. So I'm going through all 14, going to be 15 Halloween movies in preparation for Halloween Ends. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm giving some fun facts and stuff about the series and just my overall thoughts on them as I watch. So do give us a follow there. We also have Brian's Thursday movie night picks where he shares what he's watching every Thursday. And you can also see some other movie recommendations or see what we're watching throughout the week at our personal letterboxes. Bryant's going to be at Swank Seal, that's capital S, capital S. And you can find mine at Coffee Spoon Kate, that's Coffee Spoon CAIT.
All right, till next time, we'll be in HQ. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
See you.